In this video, I'm going to go through the 3 problems that I did not go through in class. The first one is this first problem on the practice test. It's 4 terms. You should always start every factoring problem by thinking about what do the terms have in common? Is there something I could pull out of all 4 terms? Well, because there's no number except for 1 in front of the first term and there's no x in the last term, there's nothing that we can pull out of all 4 of these terms. Your next step when it's 4 terms would be to split this down the middle and to try factor by grouping. So if I do factor by grouping, I'm looking at what do the first 2 terms have in common. This is my first group. They have x squared in common. X to the third divided by x squared would be just an x. Negative 2x squared divided by x squared would be negative 2. Remember, if you multiplied these back together, you would get x to the third minus 2x squared. Whatever symbol is in front of the third term, you want to use that symbol. So we're going to be using a minus. 36x and 72 have 36 in common. Negative 36x divided by negative 36 is x. 72 divided by negative 36 is negative 2. The x squared minus 36 gives us our first set of parentheses. And the x minus 2 gives us our other set of parentheses. Now, if you wanted to, you could solve this from here. You could put x squared minus 36 equals 0 and x minus 2 equals 0 and solve both of them. You just have to remember that when you square root, you have to consider both the positive and the negative. That's how we're going to end up with 3 solutions and not just 2. This part, in green, we can already get one of our solutions from. If x minus 2 is a factor, then x equals 2 is one of our solutions, because 2 minus 2 would give us 0. X squared minus 36 is not fully factored. It is a difference of 2 squares. X squared is the perfect square of x. 36 is the perfect square of 6. So this factors further into x plus 6, x minus 6. So the green part gave us our answer of 2. This blue part gives us a solution of 6, and this pink part gives us a solution of negative 6. Just a quick side note, if you had skipped this step of doing x plus 6, x minus 6, this is what it would look like. You do x squared minus 36 equals 0, add 36 to both sides, and then square root. When you square root, you have to keep in mind that you have to put a positive negative in front of it. The square root of 36 is 6. So positive 6 and negative 6 are your solutions. But if you're going to forget about that, make sure you do difference of 2 squares to get those 2. Moving on to the next one. This is a trinomial. It already equals 0, but the first thing that you should always consider is, do these 3 terms have anything in common? It'd be super helpful if we could divide all of them by 3, and if you try 84 divided by 3, I believe it does work. Also, all 3 of these have some x's, so we are going to divide everything by 3x. 3x to the third divided by 3x is x squared. 9x squared divided by 3x is 3x. And negative 84x divided by 3x is negative 28. When you are factoring a trinomial, you are looking for 2 numbers that multiply to give you the third number, negative 28. Those same numbers have to add up to the middle number, 3. So we can try 1 times 28, 2 times 14. I don't think 3 works. That's a decimal. 28 divided by 4 is 7. Hey, 4 and 7 would work if we did negative 4 and positive 7. So that trinomial factors into x minus 4, x plus 7. And we talked about this in class, but whatever the x is in the middle term of your trinomial, that's going to match the x's in your parentheses. When we do this problem over here, we end up with x squared as that middle term, so we have x squareds as those two x's in the parentheses. This one is now fully factored. The green part, x minus 4, that's going to give us a solution of positive 4. This blue part, ignore the little green right there, will give us a solution of x equals negative 7. And anytime that you have a monomial in front, your solution is going to be 0. Think of it as 3x has to equal 0. So 3 times what would give you 0? 0. Okay. I think I have time, so let's also do this one, because this one is just one that people struggle with. I did do this in class, but oh well. Your first step is to get one side equal to 0. So I subtract 40x to the third on both sides. And you have to put it in order so it goes in between those two other terms. Then, what do these terms have in common? They have 2x in common. Then we're trying to factor this trinomial. We're looking for two numbers that multiply to give us 64 and add up to negative 20. So we got 1 times 64, 2 times 32. 64 divided by 3 gives me a decimal. 64 divided by 4 is 16. 4 and 16 could give us 20, negative 20 if we did negative 4 and negative 16. Okay, this is what I was talking about. The middle term is x squared, so this is x squared minus 4 and x squared minus 16. The x's in your parentheses are going to match whatever that middle term was. And we still have the 2x in front. And then kind of like we did on the first one, you could solve it from this point. You could do 2x equals 0 and solve, x squared minus 4 equals 0 and solve, x squared minus 16 equals 0 and solve. But some of you are going to realize that this is difference of two squares. It factors into x plus 2, x minus 2. And this one is difference of two squares. It factors into x plus 4, x minus 4. And we have this 2x in front. The yellow part is going to give us a solution of 0. This green part is going to give us the solutions negative 2 and positive 2. And this blue part is going to give us the solutions negative 4 and positive 4. Make sure you circle all 5 of those solutions on your paper. This is the other problem that we didn't do in class. So we need to factor this. The first thing you should always consider is, do these terms have anything in common? They're both even, so we can factor out 2. Okay. X to the 4th minus 16 is an example of difference of two squares. X to the 4th, we can get that by doing x squared times itself. 16 we can get by doing 4 times itself. So that part factors into x squared plus 4, x squared minus 4. If you're really struggling with this, think about this is x to the 4th plus 0x squared minus 16. Factor that trinomial, two numbers that multiply to give you negative 16 and add up to 0 would be 4 times negative 4. And the things in the parentheses have to match that middle term, so x squared plus 4, x squared minus 4. We still have the 2 in front. If you get to this point, you can probably figure out what the correct answer is. It's definitely factorable. We pulled a 2 out, but didn't get this, so it's not that one. This one doesn't look like what we have. See how the second one looks kind of similar to what we have? At least this part is the same as what we currently have. What's happening here is that x squared minus 4 isn't fully factored. That part breaks down into x plus 2, x minus 2. If you're familiar with your difference of two squares, this problem is very simple, and that second answer is your correct answer. If you have any other questions with the test review, the practice test as you're studying, please email me, and I will gladly record extra videos to help you out with any problems on here. Oh, one other thing. We went through this graph one together in class, but I didn't mention this one. Notice that right in front is a negative. That negative tells you that the right side of the graph is going to point downward. And if you look at these three choices, only this one points downward. So that has to be the correct answer. In the second one, the one that we went through in class, it's positive in front, so the right side has to go up. That tells us that that one is not the correct answer. Excuse me. It didn't narrow it down enough to find our answer, but now you at least know that that one is not correct. Find your zeros to help you narrow it down to which one is correct.